Can you guys hear this?
I can hear it.
All right, because I can't hear it. So welcome, everyone, to the inaugural Bondcast, the 00Deep-Dive, Pop Culture Pro's newest miniseries, delving into the franchise of James Bond. I'm your host, Fishetic, Jason Fishetic. And with me here is 005, Ginny.
Hi.
And, of course, we couldn't go anywhere without our trusty Q branch. My co-host on Granny's Peach Tea, Ed, how you doing tonight?
Hey, how's it going? What's up, man?
All right. All right. So we are diving into our first mission. I'm very excited, guys. I'm very excited. And our first mission is... I got to get this banner. I'm actually, guys, I'm producing this one. So I've never done this before. But our first mission is Mission Casino Royale, starring Daniel Craig, which I'm excited to talk to you guys about tonight.
Yeah, me too.
But before we dive into this one, I figured we could just talk a little bit about our history with James Bond, like what we know, what brought us to the franchise, what our favorite Bonds are. So who wants to go first? Who wants to talk a little bit about your favorite James Bonds, favorite movies, how you found the series?
I'll go, Jenny.
Jenny, go for it. Go for it.
It's all based in just, growing up in good eras. So like I had the Pierce Brosnan era as a kid, like childhood, and movies coming on TV, and you would just rent them with your families. And he was the perfect like reset for a great Bond era series. Like it was serious, it was action packed again. And we had the GoldenEye game on was it Sega? Right,
my brother. N64.
N64. And we'd always like play just to resolve fights. And that game is my brother bought it again. So every time I see him, we always play it. And
wait, did you say that you played GoldenEye to resolve sibling fights?
Yes. Yeah. Between the four of us, my two brothers and my sister, Sandy. And the best is you always, if you don't like weapons, you can just slap each other. That's an option
true.
in the game.
That is true.
Some people don't like it, and I get it because it's.
I love that you grew up in like N64 Thunderdome.
Yeah. Your brothers are better than me and my sister, but so that was just kind of the and then once that falls off the track, then you get your great Daniel Craig. But I just love Bond because every November and 4th of July they used to do marathons, and me and my sister would just binge all of them, and like. We all love Connery, like my dad. We'd watch those with, my dad's like, that's his era, his favorite. But we fell in love with Timothy Dalton. And I can't tell you like why, just that I'd never seen them till like college, and because they never show them, not really. And we were like, we don't think this is that bad. We don't think he's that bad of a Bond. And he's handsome, and he's kind of like exactly what you think he should be. So he's kind of my favorite, and I just have so much to say about him and the movies and the 80s-ness, and I love. But he's kind of my, he's my favorite. Him and Sean Connery, of course. But
awesome, yeah. Well, I think Sean Connery is everyone's like. I think everyone just goes yes, Connery, but
yeah,
this is the one that I personally hit to.
You have a Daniel Craig or like your Pierce or something, yeah.
Right, exactly. Excellent. I'm excited by the when we get to those Dalton ones, because I don't think I didn't know that he was your favorite before this, and I actually don't know anyone besides you who that's their favorite. So I'm excited to have you take hold of those episodes.
Oh yeah.
Ed, what about you? What favorite Bond? What brought you to the franchise?
I guess my father and my uncle. When I used to go spend some time out in Long Island, at times, visiting, they were both really big Bond fans. So I think that's kind of like what drew me in, and they would show me it. And obviously, a lot of it at a young age was way over my head. So I didn't get that. I was just more there for the explosions and the cool cars and that kind of thing at that time. But I mean, it got me hooked in. And as you get older, you start understanding more of it, and then you're like, oh, this is actually pretty damn cool. But I grew up. They introduced me through the Sean Connery era and the Roger Moore era, which I don't like the Roger Moore era at all. Like it ignored. I'm curious to watch them again as an adult because I kind of written them off for a long time now, and I can't even tell the last time I even watched any of them. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But Timothy Dalton was the new current Bond, at when I started getting into it, and I agree. I think he's actually highly underrated as Bond. I actually really love License to Kill.
I do too.
I like Living Daylights, and as a kid, I was like obsessed with the opening of Living Daylights. I thought the whole cello thing was like the coolest thing ever. I don't even know why, but it was just really cool. But Pierce Brosnan, I enjoyed his era as well. I know the movies were so, but he was a great Bond. But my favorite Bond, I'm gonna have to say, over time became Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig is with him and Connery, it's like 1 and 1A, and then it gets tough. I kind of really enjoy everyone but Roger Moore.
Yeah, even Lazenby.
Lazenby, I would like to go. I'm excited to rewatch his film because, as a kid, I also wrote him off because he wasn't Sean Connery.
Right.
Because that's how I was kind of taught. Like they introduced me to the franchise, and it was like, oh, that's the not Connery one. So whatever. You don't need to really bother with that. Yeah, and I think I've seen it like once, maybe, or twice. And as an adult, I think I'm excited to give it another chance because. Jason, we've talked about it. I trust your judgment to be like, something? He's kind of given a raw deal just because he's not Sean Connery.
Yeah, and that's what I always say. I'm actually an apologist for that movie because I really enjoy that movie. And I think if that was Sean Connery in the role, people would like that movie more. I really feel that way.
Yeah, and I think I can separate myself from that and watch the movie objectively and be like, something, this one's actually pretty good. So I'm curious to see it. But yeah, Daniel Craig really won me over because I'd have to say Casino Royale and damn it, I can't remember the names. Just like yes, I've told you already. Skyfall are like two of my favorite Bond movies ever. So, I think we talked about it after we went to see No Time to Die. So
we did.
I do love Skyfall. I played some of the GoldenEye N64 game, but I didn't really. I know everyone's all about it. I didn't get into it as much. I wish I would have though. I ended up getting GoldenEye Reloaded for like PlayStation 3, I think it was.
The one where they put Daniel Craig in there?
Yeah, where they kind of just swapped them out. Not exactly the same.
No, it's weird. It's weird. I played that. It's weird.
It's the characters from GoldenEye, but then you just got Daniel Craig?
Yeah, they updated the graphics, and it's Daniel Craig instead of Pierce Brosnan, and you're going through the plot of GoldenEye.
That's so cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a change of pace, but
it's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always really, just kind of like dug the franchise. I think it's one of the best action franchises out there. So I'm very curious to revisit all of it, and I was glad to. I told Angie, I'm like, look, I'm actually opening up the box set, the Bond 50 box set that she got me because I'm glad I did, but I've also watched a lot of them. Like I've seen Casino Royale. I'm pretty sure that's the one I've seen the most at this point because I felt like at one point it was on all the time, and it was one of those movies where you're kind of just clicking around. You're like, oh, look at this, I like this, and it sucks me in every single time. So can't wait to get into it.
So now we're in your sweet spot. Then this is like your sweet Bond spot here. With
exactly. Like So
awesome. So for me, like I same with Ginny. When I was growing up, it was always on TNT. And the reason I wanted to start this in November was because I always associate November with James Bond. Like I saw a Facebook post like from last year that I posted, which is way before I was even working with Pop Culture Pros, where I was like, well, in honor of November, I'm watching GoldenEye or Goldfinger or whatever it was. Because all I did when I was younger was watch TV, and my stepfather would always have the TNT on. And so I would watch it. And like you, Ed, like I kind of just absorbed it. I didn't really understand a lot of it when I was younger. And then when I got into college, I got into a really big like 60s British spy genre like kick. Like I got into The Saint with Roger Moore. I got into The Avengers with Emma Peel and John Steed. And I really just absorbed all of it. So of course I got huge into the Connery flicks, which I think is why Connery is my favorite. Because he was like the first time I ever really sat down and watched a James Bond movie, like as like a semi-adult. I was in my 20s. Was like Goldfinger. It was Goldfinger, which is, like in my opinion, a perfect Bond movie. I'm not even going to bury the lead on that, but that's my favorite Bond movie. But like I love Pierce Brosnan. Yeah, I think it has to be, right?
Yeah.
I love Pierce Brosnan. I saw GoldenEye in the theater. It's the first time I saw a Bond movie in the theater was that one. And I saw all of Pierce's run in the theater. And then I got big into GoldenEye the game. I played Tomorrow Never Dies the game. I played Quantum of Solace for PlayStation. What else? I played like a lot. They did a PlayStation 2 from Russia with Love, which is like one of the last things Sir Sean Connery did before he retired. And I played that. I love that. So like I'm big into this franchise. So thank you guys for joining me on this. This is I kind of wanted an excuse to just talk with you guys about James Bond and force people to listen.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. I was just thinking about it now. The first Bond I think I saw in the first Bond I saw in the theater was License to Kill. My cousin Michael took me to see that. Yeah, so I don't even know. I don't remember what year it came out, so I'm trying to figure out how old
it's 89. It's like there was a season of blockbusters. It was like Batman, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, License to Kill. I think I'm pretty sure it's like the summer of like these crazy hits.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think it comes out. I think that that movie comes out at the same time the Connery one comes out again. The Never Say Never Again.
Oh,
interesting.
So I think you're right.
Yeah, because my cousin took me to see License to Kill, so I'm thinking. So I was like 9 years old. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the subject matter of that moment. I'm like, holy shit, okay.
So while we're digesting this, got the boss man popping in, saying, Ed with the Jason and Faraci look, welcome to the club, my friend. Welcome.
Yes, I'm not wearing a hat on this show. I decided no hat for this show since I wear it on the other two. So I said no, not for this one.
Bond doesn't wear a hat.
No.
If I had a 007, if I had a 007 fitted hat, I probably would have worn it, but I don't have it. So
actually, Ed, I think you and I should do exactly what Sean Connery did and get a piece for the episode.
Should, right?
Right. Just own it.
And Tim says they also used to be on ABC every week because my father taped them off TV. So that's I actually would love. Tim, I wish you still had those. I would love to watch James Bond taped off of ABC with 80s commercials intact.
That would be pretty great.
I actually went down a rabbit hole over the summer. I was watching 80s commercials on YouTube when I couldn't sleep at night.
Oh, wow.
It's a rabbit hole. Yeah.
It's got to be interesting.
Yeah, it is. All right, so let's get into Casino Royale, which is this is James Bond's first mission, right? This is the genesis of James Bond becoming 007. What did you guys think of the cold open, right? Cold open, Jenny, you want to go over the cold open?
Oh, he's just to my knowledge, it's his first. He's the guy he's going after. This is me having to sort of rewatch twice just the plot of this one because I wanted to make sure it's his. I remember watching this for the first time and just not understanding the plot with the villain and it's like, and again, my husband says this would be easier if we just found out this was Spectre to begin with, but it's because everything ties back to Spectre, right? But they couldn't use the name, which is also really confusing. So I have to ask, and like
the organization they refer to it as,
right?
Also, though, the reason they don't do that is because in the original novel Casino Royale, which I listened to on audio for this, it's not Spectre, it's Smersh, which is it's a Russian a Russian KGB organization who is specifically after spies. So I
Okay.
think they couldn't use that because they left the Cold War thing behind. But I
Yeah.
think that's why they had like the organization. It was kind of nebulous who these guys were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, he just gets his first kill in the scene, right? Doesn't he get his license to kill status? Because what's the cut that he's like the guy says like you can't kill me, or he's like
Yeah, and in the
need-
beginning, in the opening scene,
Right.
they're
and white
going through
beautiful.
because to be a 00, you need to have two confirmed
Yeah.
kills,
Mhm.
and he's flashing. They show you flashbacks of his
Yeah.
first,
First.
so that's why this guy's like, "Oh wait, shit,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
It's so
about to be
good.
the second."
Yeah.
It's just the reveal, and it's like in black and white. And I was like, I forgot.
Yeah.
I just forgot that though, because I remember that's kind of the best part when you're, it's a total reboot.
Mhm.
So that's like just the little trigger. We never see that before with any other Bond. No.
No, this
Like-
was the first time
Yeah.
they ever rebooted and actually had like continuity, like
Yeah.
legit continuity.
Which is what, and it's also, but maybe, I don't know, I'll get your opinion on this. Do you remember when they first were doing, because I do, when they were first like announcing they were doing a Casino Royale was going to be a reboot, and we were getting a younger James Bond, like Pierce
Yeah.
was like almost 50s, like we're going to get a young, fresh Bond, and it could be like Henry Cavill was like passed around, he was a baby, and certain actors
Yeah.
were, and Clive Owen was like my choice for like ever because I loved him in Closer. And then they get Daniel Craig, and he's not like a young 20-year-old guy. He's like, what was it? Was he pushing 40? Like,
He's
I don't know
in
how
his
old he
40s?
was. He looked. I've always felt like at the time he looked older than
yeah,
maybe he
then maybe he
was.
was.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is 2006. This
yeah.
is pretty. This is a long time ago now.
It is, and actually,
I didn't realize it.
watching it last night, because you and I just saw No Time to Die in the theater a couple weeks ago. But watching this last night, I was like, "Oh my god, Daniel Craig's a baby in
A
this."
baby? Oh no.
He looks.
I
he
just
looks
did my
like-
last rewatch. I just did it like an hour ago.
Yeah.
Like it just
Oh,
ended
nice.
like right before it came out.
Nice.
It's fresh.
Yes. Not a lot of notes needed.
But yeah, but that like watching him get the 00 status, I thought was a
Yeah.
cool choice.
It's great.
Because we've never seen it before. I don't think in the other movies they've ever addressed what it means or how you get it. You just know it's a license to kill.
Mhm.
So to find out that and there's that cool scene where because the guy he kills is like the deputy director. He's like an MI6 bureaucrat in the field who apparently has been selling secrets.
Right.
And I just love when he goes, well, that's the beauty of my rank is I'd know if anyone was promoted to 007. You had to kill 2 people to get it. And then he has that moment of realization.
Yeah.
And when he
No
says
shit.
it's easier and then he just pops him. He doesn't even let him finish. And he's like, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
It's so cold. It's a beautiful. It's beautifully shot too. It's just like I don't like black and white. Good, just nice.
I thought that was a nice touch too. The black and white. It kind of added. That's the thing. I think they were trying to add a sort of classiness to the franchise that we haven't seen in a while. Maybe it got ridiculous. It got very much like very. It became almost a parody of itself at times. But the fact that they're trying to sort of ground it here and make it a bit more artistic, a bit more
but then it gets, and then I don't know, just back to basics a little bit in a good way, like pure, like and also that opening is a little pure too, like it's just cards and a guy. It's very 60s. It's very little throwback, and it's like we're back to square one. We're back to like an old Bond plays cards, and he gets martinis at the table, and that's sort of his bag. It's all class.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so what did you guys think of the opening? Like, did you guys like the retro 60s cards and people being impaled on clubs and spades and stuff?
I really dug that. Again, with Casino Royale, you're dealing with it's going to be a huge high stakes card game that's going to happen here. So leading up to that, you're like, all right, it makes perfect sense. I also really like Audio Slave and anything like that. So to know that that's who went ahead and sang their theme song again. I actually forgot about that for a minute. I was like, oh, wait a second, yeah, that's right. So Chris Cornell going for that. I thought that was pretty awesome. Yeah, I don't know, that really did slip my mind. I think part of the reason too, I enjoy this film so much, besides it just on its own merit, it's really good. I really appreciated the stripping down of Bond for this. Like you mentioned when they announced it was going to be a reboot, I was honestly extremely skeptical. I was like, oh, gee, all right, what the hell are we doing here? And then when I saw Daniel Craig when he was casted, I'm like, okay, like doesn't really look like Bond, but yeah, I know. Now we're talking about Idris Elba, so we've gone really away from whatever Bond looks like. But
right.
at the time though, you have a vision in your head of what you think Bond looks like,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, all right, so that's not it. And then I went in with it. My expectations for this movie were not very high going in, so I think that's why maybe I was also like, when a movie blows away my expectations, I obviously enjoy it because I think when something surpasses your expectations, you tend to maybe like it even more. But I did love the concept of rebooting Bond, starting over from scratch. And yeah, I wasn't sure in the opening scene, I wasn't sure what we were going to get. And then when you see him achieving 00 status for the first time, and he's like nobody, you're like, wow, they really went back to like the beginning of stuff we've never seen. And that's also important because you're presenting a new Bond, so you need to give the audience something they've never seen before. And they achieve that, and they strip away the gadgets. Because that's what was happening at Pierce Brosnan. Like it literally became all gadgets.
I didn't think about that. There's zero gadgets in this movie.
Right? There's nothing.
The closest thing is in the car.
Oh,
yeah, the defibrillator. And that's not really a gadget. It's just
it has a holder for his gun. Sure, yeah. No, but there's no exploding toothpaste.
Yeah.
Or like things are popping out of his shoes, or the car, going camouflage where. I mean, it really got crazy. It was really time to scale it back. Yeah. And I got to believe a lot of the influence had to do with, not to go, too much into like a granny's type part of the conversation, but it's kind of like what I feel Christopher Nolan did with Batman Begins versus, Batman and Robin went way over the top. So I was like, all right, let's scale back the character, get back to basics, realism. And they totally, achieved it with this.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I think one of the reasons that they achieved it is because I just listened to the novel, and they really go back to that source material. I would say the first hour of this movie is not from the book, but everything from the like that first hour on is directly from the novel. And I thought that was super interesting because, as I'm getting into it, I'm about 4 novels in. My goal is to listen to them all in order so I can talk about them when we do the movies. And like going through it, like these, I just listened to Moonraker, right? Which, let me tell you what's not in the book. Yes, that was based on a very, very excellent book.
Really?
I really enjoyed it. It had nothing to do with space orgies and the space arcs, and there was no Jaws, and it was literally just an espionage thriller with James Bond. It was super cool. So to see them like actually use the source material in this was refreshing.
Nice. I was not aware of that.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a lot more about it when we do the Moonraker movie, because so far the Moonraker book is my favorite out of the James Bond ones I've listened to.
That's insane.
And Moonraker is a movie that makes me want to not be a Bond fan.
Yeah, it's a kind of a joke of the movie.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, I'm not going to be able to be biased, so I'm actually bringing like a defender on that episode. Even though it's like months in advance, I've already booked someone who's coming on to balance out my negativity. Because anyone who's seen me on Granny's Peach Tea, you know how bad things can get when I get too negative.
Oh wow!
So I figure we'll save the plot for last. I figure we'll talk about the aspects of what makes kind of a James Bond movie, and then we'll sort of delve into the plot. You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
So, let's talk about Craig as Bond. Like, how do we feel? Like, I think we've already said how we feel, but like, where would you put him in the pantheon of the Bonds? Like, Eddie, he's your favorite.
He became my favorite over his run, even though I'm not going to say every movie of his was great. Like, I mean, James, I already told you I'm not going to be able to, unfortunately, make it next week, but I don't like Quantum of Solace. I'm curious to hear what you guys. I think
Quantum of Solace.
Out of his 5 movies, I think that's the weakest one.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think that I definitely feel that's the weakest one. But another thing in the opening scene that Daniel Craig really got me hooked in for. This is definitely the most physical Bond we've ever seen. I mean, he beats the crap out of that guy in that bathroom scene that they're flashing back to.
Yeah.
Ooh, boy,
He
when he
really
takes his
does
head and he
Yeah.
just puts it through the sink.
He's brutal. Like he is when M calls him like a blunt instrument,
Mm.
Yeah.
like that's exactly what is like portrayed here. And watching the film, I'm just like, yeah, that's another change that you're bringing something new to the table from a franchise that's like, I mean, math is gonna escape me here, but they're like 20 something movies in when Craig takes over, and you're like, wow, I've never seen James Bond do any of this before.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with his scene in Madagascar when he's got the whole chase and there's like the parkour going on and everything like that, even though the other guy's like fantastic at it, and Bond is like just trying to do his best to keep up with him. But his physicality is another thing that I really, appreciate for him bringing to the role. And also, I guess, again, it's a personal thing, is that him winning me over in the one film where I was like, oh, all right, you are James Bond. Okay, fine. Yeah.
He looks like, I mean, because again, even Timothy Dalton is like, who's handsome and tall, isn't muscular or fit or like an athlete. No one gives me an athlete vibe. Like I don't know. They all seem like they all smoke and like drink, and which isn't your, at your peak health. But I can only assume. But Daniel Craig really because also in between the card games, he is like running, defending his life, like running, or he's chasing in the Bahamas to the airport, and he's running. I was just like, it's stamina. It looks like he has stamina. It looks like he's pacing himself. It looks like he's just like, this is absolutely like a major part of his job that and also, but that's like a huge theme of the movie, starting from the beginning of his kill status, and then just how ruthless he is killing, and how even people Vesper calls him out about like, you don't seem to care about who then none of this seems to affect you. Like, you just kill without any remorse. And it's true. And he's completely a loner, but throughout the entire beginning of the movie, from the very beginning, getting his kill status to like, at least, almost 2 hours in, you just see there's no remorse, and he's good at killing and kind of, getting that done. So.
Yeah, that is something I really liked about him. So I'll be honest, I never gave him a fair shot. Like I saw these movies once. I probably put them on while I was doing something else. It's not that I didn't like him. It's not I wasn't interested. It just was like, I was like, okay, you rebooted Bond again. And I was kind of disappointed that Pierce was gone, because I did really like him despite some of his movies not being great. But like my watch last night, I think he does something so different with this role than other people in the past. Like he's not like a pretty boy, which I think the others were.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like a guy you'd meet in a bar. You
wouldn't want to mess with.
No, not. He's the guy you'd buy a drink and hope that he's a nice guy, and you become friends with him. But like, the physicality I thought was great, and he really does he's not glib. And that's something I think that got out of hand in the Pierce Brosnan era. I thought Christmas only came once a year, which is probably the worst last line of any Bond movie. Or Q's line from Moonraker's up there too. Well, he's attempting re-entry.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh, there was so many puns, so many sex puns at the end of the movie.
But like, you don't get that with him. You get that cold killer. His eyes are cold, right? And like the closest thing he comes to like a joke was between the card game where Lashif almost kills him when he gets poisoned, and he comes back. And they're like, hey, you okay? And he's like, that last hand almost killed me. That's the closest thing you get to a quip. And that's fine. That's, that's not like, I can't even think of like a James Bond, like pun or innuendo
it's
for
not
that.
Cheesy. It's not, it's just kind of like, it genuinely get a cackle out of you to be like, nicely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of ballsy, if anything.
Yeah, right.
Because
he knows that Lashif poisoned him. Like they both know what's going on.
Oh yeah, I mean that starts off when he goes in and decides to blow his cover on purpose when they check in, and he's like, "Well, James Bond, Vespa," and she's pissed at him, and he's like, "Well, listen, if this Lashif guy is, as good as everyone's saying, he knows I'm here. And then, but she makes a good point though, saying, "Well, he also knows you're reckless now."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
and
he
I
calls him out on
actually.
it.
And he calls him out on it.
Yeah.
And I love that. That was actually cool. Like, yeah,
Like
this
Peach
is
or Bond, I'm not sure which one it is or whatever. Yeah.
That was a great thing. That was a great moment. And speaking of Lashif, what you guys think of Mads Mikkelsen as the villain of this? And like a villain, this is like a Bond villain in a way that I don't think we've ever seen a Bond villain before.
Because he has an inhaler.
Well, he's got the inhaler, but
He's
also
got the eye thing going on with,
His
which I thought was
bleeding.
I thought that was a very, he had the look of a super Bond villain with the whole eye and the tearing of blood. You're like, all right, there's his Bond villain gimmick.
That's what I was going to say. That's traditional too. We need a villain that has like a clear trait.
Yeah, but I also love Mads Mikkelsen. So like,
yeah,
anything I've seen him in, I do love. And you're right though, Jason. Like he's a vulnerable villain because we find out eventually that there's a bigger thing going on. There's a bigger fish to catch, and he kind of gets disposed of. Not even by Bond.
No,
that was shocking.
That was shocking. The first time I saw this, I was like, "Wait, what?" Even though I was also shocked by the scene that happens in. I was just like,
"What's going on?"
This is the most elaborate nut shots I've ever seen in my entire life.
Which, and after we're done talking about the villain, we'll go through the plot. But I think that is also a great line when Craig goes, "Oh no, to the right," and he hits him, "No, to the left," and he goes, "Now I can die knowing that you were playing with my balls." Which again, that's not even clever, but that's something I would say if you were like torturing me.
Well, he's dealing with a situation where we obviously know the pain he's dealing with is super extreme, and he's just trying to like mentally mind over matter, get it out, and is just pretty much telling him, "Dude, you can torture me all you want, you're still not going to get it, and they're going to get you."
How do you piss him off more? Like
exactly. And because Lashif knows it's true. I mean, he's like, he knows he's screwed if he doesn't get it out of him.
Yeah, exactly. So, Ginny, what'd you think of Mads Mikkelsen? Did you like this like vulnerable villain from him?
I don't see vulnerable. He's fine. I think he's a little boring. I always think he's not my favorite part of the movie, and it's like there's nothing. I'm never threatened by him either. And I don't know if I ever was. And I love Mads Mikkelsen. I want him to be Dr. Doom, like if they ever do Fantastic Four. Even though he was in Doctor Strange, but I love Hannibal, obsessed with him in Hannibal, and so many like Danish movies that I love him. I don't know. I don't think, and maybe because I have seen the movie a few times and I know that he gets disposed of and that like he isn't the biggest bad. And that he has the scene. And he's vulnerable even when they come after him during the card game and they come after his little henchwoman. Yeah. And that's like, you're not threat. That's the point. I know that's the point, but I'm like, you're scared for him. You're like, I don't want him to get his girlfriend's hand cut off. And then you feel bad for him kind of, because it's a very scary situation.
Because actually Bond is outside and he hears what's going on. And part of me went, Bond needs to get in there and save that woman.
Bond, get in there. Come on. No, so I like he's a little boring, and then so there's so much in the movie that's great. Like their Bond girl is like one of the greatest, and it's like he's fine. He's
I have to say that I gained a deeper appreciation from him through the novel because he is pretty much that's him in the novel. Like he's because the novel is also Bond's first mission, and he. Pretty much the same thing. Like, so Bond has to beat him at cards to turn him so they can get like Cold War secrets. And like when I first saw this movie, I was like, yeah, that's a weak villain. But when I got a deeper appreciation in the book because I saw that they were trying to set something else up that was going to pay off later. Yeah. And so I guess like for the movie, I gained a better appreciation of the villain and sort of the fact that he wasn't he wasn't the imposing presence of like Blofeld or someone like that.
No, not at all.
I think it's good though. You don't want a big villain. You don't want like a Joker level villain from like Dark Knight in their first Bond movie. You want to focus on Bond anyway.
Right.
And also, I don't know if that plays into it either, but
No, and I think you're right though, because this is a very Bond centric movie, right? So like, let's get into like the plot. We'll go through it. So after he gets his 00 status, right? Bond has possibly the biggest baller move I've seen in the Bond movie, where he breaks into M's house.
Yes.
And he's like just chilling, and she's like, and he's like I don't think he's getting into a pissing contest with her. Like, you were just promoted, man. And he's like, I thought I thought M was just a title, but your name. And she's like, you utter another syllable, and I will kill you.
It's very flirtatious, their relationship. It's very much like a teacher who like favors a bad boy student, and you're like, you don't do that, you know, but I'll give you a pass on this one.
Right.
You just like the kid for some reason.
And this is, of course. Oh, sorry.
I'm sure the other agents are just very mad at Bond for that, and they're just
right. Like, hey, 006, how come 007 can break into M's house there? And this is, of course, after, like, I skipped ahead a bit. This was after what we were talking about, the whole parkour chase, which, like, action-wise, I was into that. Like, I really enjoyed that, which, we touched on that before. And then so, like, James Bond kind of screws up by letting this guy get into the embassy, and he winds up killing him, blowing up the embassy, and getting out of there, and then does the baller move to break into M's apartment, like, and then he goes rogue. Like, this is his first mission as a 00, and he goes rogue. Like, he leaves the apartment, disappears, and the next they hear of him, he's like hacking their system using M's password to find out about Le Chiffre and like his sort of network of people. How did you guys feel about that? About like this being his first mission and his like sort of adversarial moments with M, and then him going rogue right away?
I guess I thought the introduction to M, like we were just mentioning too, was just that was interesting. I felt like she was just kind of like had no time for his bullshit. She was kind of like this. She's like, maybe like you said, a student teacher thing, but like a student that it's kind of like, this guy probably has a lot of potential, but I also don't got time for your bullshit. So like, get your ass in line. That is a serious baller move though, because he obviously knows that he's going to get tracked and everything, what's going on here. But maybe he's also, I guess we're sticking with the student teacher thing, showing his work at the same time and saying, all right, if you're going to track me, look what I'm doing. I'm checking out known associates and blah, blah, blah. There's, a bigger thing going on. And when she does see it, when she's woken up in the middle of the night to go take a look at this crap, she's like, oh, well, all right, I guess continue as you were then, because maybe you're actually onto something here.
Ego. It's his ego.
Yeah. What did you guys, and Jason, I have a feeling I know what you're thinking, but what did you guys think of the choice to keep Judi Dench as M, but yet you're rebooting?
I love it. I love it. What's that like? What's that like? That's like, that's like kind of like J. Jonah Jameson being in the Spider-Man universe.
Yeah, true.
Introducing him.
As far as we know, we can get into a whole other.
There's a Bond multiverse. There's a Bond multiverse going on that we don't know about, and we'll play with it later. It's a female James Bond.
I liked it a lot.
No, like, I love Judi Dench as M, but I would just thought for the sake of, because Jason, that's what I'm saying. We've had these conversations. I always feel like when you reboot. Like you start it from scratch, and obviously we eventually get another M of sooner or later anyway. I had mixed feelings about it, because I just thought it was like, it could be a little confusing to some who are just like, wait a second, what? This is the M from, he just was with Brosnan. I don't get it.
I agree with that, but I think that she does such a good job. It's like, who are you going to replace her with if she still wants to do it? But I also think she's playing a different M. Like, that is not Pierce Brosnan's M, And I think she, maybe it wouldn't work with other actors or actresses, but I think she is so good that she can play the same role in two very different ways, because she's more tongue-in-cheek in those, everything's tongue-in-cheek in those Brosnan movies.
Oh, of course.
And here she is M. She is your traditional, I will cut you loose, I don't care about you, I care about Queen and Country. Like, she's that kind of M. So I agree with you. It's a bit confusing, and it's not something I normally would like condone, right? Because it's up to me to condone it. Yes. But but for this, I think it worked.
She's such a good M. I don't know who you could replace. It's like it's like good luck replacing her. There's plenty of great actors out there, but she's like she's a dame and she's the best. I don't know who the other M's. I can't think of them off the top of my head.
Well, Ray Fiennes replaces her, right?
Well, yeah. Well,
yeah, eventually.
But
and then before her,
he was
it
there.
was a whole bunch of English guys, like
English white guys. Great, like nothing.
Yeah, I can't tell you. Yeah, I can't tell you their names. I know there's in No Time to Die though. There is. Remember that I mentioned that Easter egg that they do have all the pictures of the past ends all up on the wall.
Okay.
At one point that they squeeze in there, which is kind of like very much an Easter egg because you're going to assume that that's for fans knowing it. They obviously didn't go through all these M's, and that's not a thing.
No. But it's a nice Easter egg. Like no one's saying that. Yes, this all is canon. James Bond has lived forever. Yes. So after that, let's see when we leave off. So he tracks down this guy Demetrius, and he again another baller move. He's full of baller moves. Gets this guy into a card. Demetrius is like Le Chiffre's right hand man. He gets him into a card game, takes him for all he's worth, and gets an Aston Martin.
Yeah, I forgot that he mentioned that.
I did too.
Gets a 1964 Aston Martin.
And so that was I thought that was a clever way of having like 2006 Daniel Craig James Bond like toying around in our classic 60s Aston Martin. And then how does Bond repay him, and how does Bond commune with him? He seduces his wife.
Of course.
Because he likes the married women.
That's right. Which I kind of really like that is a through line through this, because he has that conversation with Vesper too. He's like, yeah, married women just make it easier.
And he's like, you're not my type, you're single. And she's like, not really. So she is his type.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, okay.
He just senses it on her.
Do you think James Bond's enough of a slut in this movie? Because he's James Bond. Like, do you think he has enough casual, meaningless sex in this movie?
He does. I think so. I think because he's like raw sex. It's like no emotional ties. And when he's like very animalistic too, a little bit. And not in like a Sean Connery way, not in a sexist way. I think he's very like, let's flirt. Let's I want you to agree to this and let's go. And and that's the fun of it for him. And I go, and it's great because he's charming to like women. He's like, because he has to get like receptionists, he get information, intel. And he looks so rough and rugged, like a bulldog almost. So you're scared of him. Like you wouldn't want to approach him. You wouldn't want to hit on him at a bar. But when he turns on the charm, it's very much like gentle and so sweet. And you're like, and he's giving you attention. You're like, oh, you wouldn't hurt me. Like, oh, yeah, I'll give you whatever you want. And it's like, so the juxtaposition is really great. I think that's why he's sort of special. And he makes the flirting work. And that's his own charm.
I think that's a perfect way to put it. He's like a bulldog. I've been trying to figure out how to describe him as James Bond, and he is the bulldog of James Bond.
He's not a British bulldog, but he's like a bulldog. He's like, not blustery, but he's a little weathered. He's weathered.
Eddie, does he have enough meaningless sex?
I mean, yeah, he pretty much tells her straight out, like, listen, there's a means to an end. And she's like, not really. But she throws it out there. Yeah, she throws it out there, and he's like, kind of like, yeah, actually, that's the case. And just so cold-hearted, he's like, yeah, champagne for one or whatever.
I know.
Listen, I'm out.
That was rough.
Because I hate, because she gets it, because she dies, and that's a casualty. A lot of women are casualties for Bond, especially after he sleeps with them, and she didn't even sleep with him. That's kind of sucky.
He totally just like reeled her in and stuff. And she's like, yeah, I'm out of here.
She didn't even have that one last bang before the bang.
How dare he?
No, and she was clearly in like it looked like an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
She was in
loveless, emotionally.
Oh yeah,
nothing. A poor woman.
So, yeah, I mean, I would say that that's the case. It's not over the top, but I think it fits in with the Bond we're getting, though. Like,
yes,
he's gonna do it to get what he needs, and whatever happens along the way, that's great. But he was like single-minded, like focused on what he needed to do.
But I don't think he's like a Batman who seems a little or some even Marvel superheroes are a little asexual almost, or not. It seems like there's no passion, and he seems to, when he wants it or wants to flirt, he's like, there's still a sexuality about him that I'm like, yes, of course, I'm sure he gets he has a lot of one night stands.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
I'm sure Daniel Craig Bond. I have a feeling he does pretty well.
Don't worry about Daniel Craig, all right? He has no problem with the ladies or the men or whatever he's into.
Yes,
no problem.
yes. He's married to Rachel Weisz. He's
doing all right.
He's special.
So then Bond goes to the bodies exhibit, which is what I called that museum he went to, because it looked like if you guys are familiar with the bodies exhibit from Times Square.
I went to one in Philadelphia. I was like, I forgot that was in this movie too. Yeah, because it was touring, which is such a weird museum.
It's just I found it to be. I thought it was cool, but I thought it was just a weird choice
setting
to have where he's kind of like he's following Demetrius, right? And Demetrius is given this package over, and then he loses track of the package. But I was so distracted by the bodies exhibit that I was like, wait a minute, where is he?
Rick used to manage one of those.
Did he really?
The bodies?
Yes, he did. Of course he did.
Of course.
Come on,
he did.
I mean, of course he did.
Who are we talking about here? Our friend Rick, who Ginny, to give you context, is the biggest Hawkeye fan you'll ever meet. And not like Hawkeye from the MCU, like putting a bow and arrow with a punching glove,
We're waiting for that, by the way. Me and him had a conversation about that. Do you think in the series we're going to see the boxing glove on the arrow at some point? He's obviously really hoping for it.
I hope so, and if we do, he has to come on that episode.
He apologized for his not coming on, but he said he's going to, he will see.
So we go from the bodies exhibit to the airport, which I think is a cool scene. We mentioned it before, where this is where he reemerges to M, where he calls M and he's like, yeah, put her on. No, I don't care. Put her on. It's 007. And again, another baller move, because he's trying to get into, he's at the Miami airport, and he's trying to get into the secure part, because he saw the henchman he's chasing go into the secure area with the password. And he's trying to get the password. Then he figures out what it is, and he gets him on the line. He goes, I'll call you back.
Just bad time.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think about that aspect of that whole scene where they're driving in the truck, and then Bond gets in the truck, and he's trying to get the bomb out, and then he's hanging from the truck, and he gets the bomb and puts it in the guy's belt. Like, do you think that scene was? Do you think it was a good action scene?
That's a testament to his physicality, and again, no gadgets. Like it's a marathon when you think about the course. I'm like, because every time I watch that scene, I'm like, this is going on for a really long time, and you're thinking like real time. Like, gee.
Yeah, I had that same thing with the parkour scene too.
Oh yeah,
I was like, man, if I were doing this, 2 minutes, I'd have been like, oh, he's fine, let him go.
You guys go ahead. Wait, over here. I got my gun.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
Or I can imagine other James Bonds doing the same thing. Like Jeannie had mentioned, not the other ones weren't in the greatest shape either. So they could have been like, oh, listen, man, I had too many cigarettes. That's it. I'm out of this one.
I'll wait from over here.
He's out of the way. Hopefully M's got a gadget where I can throw something at him and trips him up, and I can catch up to him or some shit like that. Or sorry, Q. But I think it's another great action scene to follow up on the parkour scene that we had with the chase in Madagascar. Mm-hmm. Another scene that's showing off Craig's physicality, who does a lot of stunts in the films, which is one of the reasons why I think at one point later in the series he's getting a little bit tired, because he was suffering a lot of injuries.
Oh, really?
While filming the movies, and that was part of the reason why, after Spectre, he was just kind of like had enough of it. Because of the physicality of it, it was just getting to be a lot.
Which explains why he spends like half of No Time to Die at a desk, right?
Well, there you go. I mean, listen.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh,
well.
No. I'm kidding. I spoiled nothing. It was a joke.
Oh, yes, I know.
It's okay.
I'm going to put a wing spoilers for it, though. But it's not, there's so many action sequences in the first hour of the movie, right? Until we get to the card scene, to the card games, and then it's nothing. Then it's like little bits of action, little bits of tension, but major bits of tension, but mostly just let's talk, let's plan, let's be civil, let's
And so that's funny because, right. And it's after that first hour is when it really goes to the book. So I guess my question to you guys is, which did you prefer? Did you prefer like the heavy action of the first hour, or were you digging sort of the chess match, as you put it, of sort of Bond and Le Chiffre, and then just these intermittent? So Bond gets there and they're playing cards. He's trying to win all of Le Chiffre's money, because I keep forgetting I have to catch people up to the plot. So pretty much what happens is the whole plan is Le Chiffre is going to blow up the airport because he has put a bunch of his investors' money into or betting against the stock market because he plans on destroying the airport. And then when that doesn't happen, he loses all of that money and decides he has to go gambling to win it back. And so James Bond stakes himself in, and all the action after that is, besides the torture scene, like the car flip, there isn't a lot.
Well, after the whole card game, though, we do get that crazy chase at the end again.
We do,
when he's chasing Vesper, which I don't know. Well, whatever. Just to talk about what you were asking is, I think that I appreciate both in different ways, because I think it was time at that point to maybe slow down the roller coaster a little bit. It's kind of, instead of doing loops and drops and stuff, let's kind of like go in a straight line for a little bit. And then it picks up again, and then you go through it again to wrap up the film. So I appreciated both of it, because I think if we would have kept on going, you would have been like, all right, maybe this isn't enough. Like, if you've been on a roller coaster where it keeps shaking and shaking and shaking, and you're like, all right, enough. My head is killing me at this point. You kind of got to like let that go a little.
It's so interesting. It's like a weird, because if the second half, which I didn't know is all the book, which makes sense, but if that's all book accurate and very traditional, very classic, and the beginning is so action packed, parkour, which is so modern, and his own, like, just being Daniel Craig and so physical, it's like you've got that gruff, like grounded, dirty, gritty Bond, and then the suit and tie martini, lovely lady, classy, like. Either he has to grow or he has to grow into it. So I don't know what that book is like, but I kind of dig that, where it's always like he has to get a new dinner jacket. And it's like sort of he's still a little bit he's very brash. He's not totally, I don't know if he's smooth, but I don't know, maybe he has to work on it a little bit more to become like into a traditional version of Bond. I kind of, it's weird. It's interesting. I like the action scene. I like his little intel and Nassau at the Bahamas. I think that's always just like a lovely little treat, and it's great, and visually it's so nice.
Yeah, this movie serves as a great origin story for him, because like you were saying, he grows into it, and by the once you see him go through all the rough physicality, is that when she goes in the dinner jacket, and you kind of tell like they framed it where it was like, oh wait, I'm in a tux now, and he kind of gives the camera like a side look. And they're like, yeah, this is Bond now. You could almost see him turn around and like do the whole thing right there. And then he orders the drink, and then
that's what we want. That's what the audience wants. That's what
this movie is an origin story of Bond in every way imaginable. Yeah, and you're right. Like, he's rough. He's like rough around the edges and like super brash, and then kind of like gets really suave as the movie goes on.
He has to stay a little contained, and
exactly.
You're really supposed to just play the card game and make sure they don't lose the money, or they make Le Chiffre lose his money. But then in other movies are like, you can have both. You can do both,
Right.
Yeah.
Which actually, that's really what I enjoyed about this movie, is the fact that, there's a lot of action in the beginning. You get the action payoff at the end, but there is a great deal of time of just suspense, right? And just tension. And I think the tension between him and Le Chiffre and, so they're playing cards, and like Bond gets poisoned, and he has to go, as we talked about, and like a cool scene where he has to run to his car, get his defibrillator, inject himself, and the Q. There is no Q branch, but like intel people, like what I guess would be the Q branch, the computer people are walking him through it. You gotta hit yourself with a syringe, and then you gotta hit your heart, and then you see that the defibrillator has been tampered with. And Vesper, who we're gonna get, don't forget, I don't want you to think I've forgotten Vesper. I'm saving her and their relationship for last. Comes and sort of helps him, but like that's like the biggest action scene outside of like what we talked about in the hotel room as well. But everything else is just sort of like they're playing cards, and Bond is and I love this, that Bond gets cocky and loses. He goes all in and loses because he thinks he knows Le Chiffre's tell. and he
Mhm.
doesn't. Or
Mhm.
there's, we find out later someone tells the chief, so he's messing with them. And I just the card stuff I thought had some great tension. And then when he loses, and I think this is like indicative of just the fact that he's not polished. When he doesn't think he can buy back in because Vesper won't give him the money, she won't stake him. His first thought is to grab a knife, follow the chief, and just brutally murder him in cold blood.
Right. Yeah.
And it's our good
Boom, end all
friend Felix
problems.
Leiter who stops him.
Oh, Jeffrey
Yeah,
Wright,
and-
as
I
Felix
know.
Leiter is awesome.
What did you guys think about this Felix Leiter? Because this is very different than ones we've seen, and I don't mean just because he's black. And yes, that is different because I don't think he's ever been black before. But also
No.
just the way the character is written, and he has more agency in this movie than Leiter usually has. Usually Leiter's there to support Bond, and he does support Bond, but he also has nice moments at the table himself. And so, what do you guys think of this Felix?
I love him. I think he's and again in Quantum, which is why you give me everybody that I want back in movies, I get really excited. So if we're missing a Felix in a movie, I'm like, we could reuse a little Jeffrey right here. But yeah, he's great. He's cool. He's not. There's a number of Felix in other movies too, where he's older, stuffy. It's kind of I don't know. Doesn't stick out to me, but he's so cool. He's so cool and smooth, and I kind of feel like a good equivalent. I want to see his own movie. Like maybe we could give him a spinoff, a cool intent, like I don't know, CIA espionage movie, and that'd be kind of fun.
That's a good point. He literally kind of is like James Bond American counterpart.
He's so charismatic, and that's what you need. You needed like a cool, just somebody with a little something special to be, he's a little, who's that? Oh, all right. He's got a twinkle on his, behind his eye.
Yeah, I think he looks like like you said, he's Bond's American counterpart. I actually would even say that in this film, he is what Bond, what we want him to become. He's smooth, he's suave, he's got the whole thing down pat. He's got the suit thing going and everything. He's suave, and then obviously not as great at cards as Bond is, so he has to go ahead and help him out financially.
I love that though. I love it.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
I'm what does he say? I can't think, but he's like, I'm losing money, I'm losing chips, or I'm hemorrhaging chips or something.
Yeah.
He's like, so you could beat him. I'll stake you. You let me get the collar.
Yeah, exactly. As long as we CIA brings him in, you do what you got to do. As far as the winnings go, who cares?
Right.
We don't need the money anyway, so whatever.
Which I think that's a scathing indictment of the U.S. military.
Of America, yeah. We don't need the money.
We don't need the money. You know how much money we spend on military? Come on,
America.
Yeah, he tells him, he's like, do we look like we need the money? And kind of gives him a wink and all right, look at you.
Yeah, I love this Felix Leiter. I think he's my favorite. I think the only other Leiter that stands out to me is the one from Goldfinger. But that Felix Leiter is literally just hanging around Kentucky going, I'm sure Bond has it. And that's why I think he's funny, because it's literally all he does.
That's also very American.
It is very American.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone else will fix it.
Yeah. So then Bond, of course, Bond wins. He cleans Le Chiffre out. He gets his shit together. And then he takes Vesper, right? Him and Vesper. Now I want to sort of start talking about his relationship with Vesper. They are antagonistic at first. He's attracted to her. They have this great scene on the airplane where he's like, I don't play cards. I read people, and they read each other back and forth, which I think is a wonderful back and forth. And then so at the end of this, they kind of have feelings for each other, and they sit down to dinner. And she gets a note from another guy we didn't, Mathis.
I love Mathis. I don't know about I love Mathis. I love that actor.
That actor was awesome, and again, that guy's in the book too. Again, like the stuff they draw from the book, I'm very happy to see it there. But she gets a message from him, leaves, and it's Le Chiffre, and he kidnaps her. And of course, Bond is like, all right, now I gotta go after her. He does, and Le Chiffre, so then we have this whole scene where he's like gunning the Aston Martin, and they tie her Vesper up, put her in the road, and he sees her sort of skids out. It's the great shot of the Aston flipping, falling down, and then we see him being dragged out. And the next thing we know, he is naked, being tortured, like we said before, by Le Chiffre. And you're sitting there wondering, how's he going to get out of this? How's he going to get out of this? And how he's out of it is someone comes in and shoots Le Chiffre in the head.
Didn't see that coming initially.
No.
So again, actually, before we talk about Vesper, because we really can't talk about her until we get to the end. How did you feel about the death of Le Chiffre? Like, did you think it was earned, or do you think it was anticlimactic? Like, what were your feelings about it?
I assumed Bond was going to find a way to get his way out of that and then take him out. But then when it happens, I'm like shocked. At first, I was definitely shocked. But, when you see the big picture thing, that's what I'm like. I was going to say is with Le Chiffre, I like him, but as a Bond, as a villain, but not like the bigger thing. To me, when he gets taken out, I was thinking like, oh, shit. Sorry. So what is this big organization that's behind us from lurking in the shadows that we don't know about? Because apparently this dude is not it. Yeah. So what is going on with that? So that's it. Made me just shocked and aware. So like, all right, what the hell is this guy talking about? We keep hearing about the organization, which when we first saw this, my mind did go to Spectre like immediately. But
yeah, I did too.
Just didn't say the name, and I'm just kind of like, say it. But they just wouldn't do it. So.
But like in Bond kind of saying like, I'm not going to tell you anything and, or kill me, whatever, but you're still going to die either way. Like, cause you don't have anything. And he knows that, like, that's a very vulnerable villain where he's like always on edge. Like he's like, management's going to get me. and like, I think, even when he's like whipping him or getting him there, it's it's so like, he's like, oh, okay, I just need you, just please tell me. Like, I know I'm gonna, like, I'm so close to dying here. And Mads Mikkelsen's really great. Now the more I'm thinking about it, I do like that he's a vulnerable villain, and that, because if I was in that position doing what I had to do, I'd be totally tensed up and be like,
you're pretty desperate.
Yeah, desperate. And so
I think it's the desperation that makes Le Chiffre so interesting, and that scene so interesting, because there is desperation in both of them, right? Bond knows he's going to die, but Le Chiffre knows that if he can't get what he needs out of Bond, he's also going to die. There is that moment where like Le Chiffre tries to bluff him, like, yeah, well, I could kill you and I would still be taken in by your organization.
Government or whatever, yeah.
Right. And it's like, well, would you? Do you believe that?
Yeah.
But so I thought, the desperation was interesting.
I think that was him vocalizing like what he was hoping was going to happen. Because I think for a moment he's like, all right, this guy isn't going to give this shit up. So, they're going to welcome me back. So anything, like that was his last card. That was his last card he had to play before to try to get Bond to give it up.
Oh man.
So and it doesn't work because Bond doesn't, and Le Chiffre gets killed by. We actually never find out who pulls the trigger, right? We know who is behind the trigger pulling, but I don't think we ever know the actual killer, and it doesn't matter. And so then he's rescued. He has it in his head that Mathis has betrayed them, and he gets Mathis arrested. And him and Vesper are in love, and they go off, and they have this like great romantic getaway. They have a relationship, and then such a cool line in the movie, such a cool moment in the movie. He gets a call from M about the money, and she's like, "Hey, we have a banker here saying, or from accounting saying you didn't put that money in." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'll go check on that. That's an oversight." And he knows right there the twist of the movie, which Vesper is a spy. Vesper has been working for not Le Chiffre, but the people who employed Le Chiffre and who killed him. And so that's why James Bond and her get out, is because she you find out later, she bargains for his life.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about like their relationship and then that twist?
That's always pretty devastating. And I was like, 16 when this comes out? So you're like, oh man, like Eva Green is like typecast was at the time, and maybe a little bit as a femme fatale, because she looks so dark and has that raspy voice, and she's French, but she's also very vulnerable. And like and so yeah, you don't see it coming. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe she should maybe come off to us like a femme fatale, but she's not in my eyes. So it's always like, it's like very upsetting. It's like me watching Moulin Rouge. I can't watch past the love medley in Moulin Rouge because it gets really just upsetting and devastating. So similar to the end, I'm like, I would like to stop after they're cuddling in bed and she has to leave. And then I would like to close off the movie because it's just really, it's really upsetting. And it's for him. I mean, it could, God, because it's so, and yeah, so that always kills me.
It's a heartbreaking moment. And in the book, he asks her to marry him.
That's really bad.
Like, so in the book, like, it's made clear, and I think it's made clear here too, but like even clearer in the book that this is real for him. This is not
he says I love you.
He says I love you, and she's shocked.
You're right. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, he does say that, and you can tell he's smitten, he's all in. Yeah. He's quitting his job.
Yeah.
Like he does. He sends M the
That's right.
letter of resignation. He's ready to completely give it all up for her. And she sees that. And then I didn't see that twist coming. And when that happens, you're like, oh fuck. And you feel bad for him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a sad moment.
My question is, because I never know, and especially like watching it for the the very first time. But I think someone's like, when do you think she knows she's gonna die, or when do you think she's planning to kill her? Is there a moment? Is it when they're in Venice or wherever they are? I assume they're in Venice or something like that on their honeymoon.
I can tell you I can tell you where it is in the book. In the book, you remember when they see the guy in Venice with like the weird. So he's not described like that in the book, but there is someone who she notices a couple of times. And Bond even sort of confronts him, and he's like, "No, I'm just a tourist. I'm just around." But I think it's at that moment she knows, because in the book, it's at that moment she writes Bond a letter explaining everything. And then when she goes off to meet him, and eventually she gets killed, which in the book it doesn't happen as grandiose as this. Like this, I actually thought this was cool. Like they literally destroy a building in Venice and it falls through the ground and she's trapped in an elevator and Bond watches her drown.
And he's trying. He's doing everything humanly possible to get to her. Yes. And she just kind of like, says her goodbye and then and lets it go. And he finally breaks through a little bit, and then we find out he gets the body and goes all the way up, which that would be extremely physical to be able to do that. I mean, that's carrying, the dead body and getting it out of this whole rubble and everything. You see him throw it up, you're like, holy shit.
He give up.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm really actually kind of sad thinking about it, because then they're just so good together. They're so great together.
Their chemistry is amazing.
Their chemistry is.
It's out of control, and and dialogue, and it's kind of some flowery dialogue, like very romantic, very like, I have no armor, you've stripped me of it. No, how do you make that work? And they make it work, and it's really good. Oh God, I just from their witty back and forth, their tension, their like their antagonism towards each other, and then and just her really kind of being torn, and genuinely falling in love with him, and then realizing she has to do what she has to do. It's so good. I get mad when he's with anyone else in the rest of the series. Like I'm like, I think about that. I'm like, Vesper be turning over in her grave.
You know what it is? Like if this were a rom-com, we'd all be like, "Oh my God, they're so good together."
Yeah. Well, her presence never goes away, though.
No, it shouldn't.
That shadow's lingering over Bond for like the rest of the series,
even up to No Time to Die.
I was gonna say I'm trying to dance around anything that happens in No Time to Die.
No. I mean, look, I'm no spoilers, but I mean, her presence is in every one of those movies. Like, I don't think that's.
I love that too. That's actually makes me what a great, I don't know, like. It's so good for Bond though. Like that's realistic. That's grounded. You're sort of the person you truly love, and not going to drop him like you would in his other series or any other James Bond.
Yeah, we've only seen Bond this attached to a woman once before, and that is in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the Lazenby one, which he gets married at the end of that. So I thought it was super interesting to have an emotional connection with Bond.
Yeah, and that's what I think this Daniel Craig series does. I think there's only one we even say it was a genuine series, that the 5 of them are actual sequels to each other, and there's an interconnected through line through it. Is that they chose to humanize Bond in a way that he's never been humanized before. Another thing they bring to the table that's brand new, and you get to see him as a real character in this because, and again, not dancing around whatever happens in No Time to Die, but yeah, like he cares for Vespa, and he's in Quantum, he's pissed and he's just furious about it and everything. And then when he meets Blofeld, eventually in Skyfall and everything, like that whole thing that's crazy. I'm sorry, in Spectre. So, it's you get to see a lot. And then in Skyfall, we learn about his parents and stuff like that. So he's a fully fleshed out character in these films like never before.
For someone who's
so whoever's next.
That's
good luck to whoever's next.
You got it covered.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Pretty crazy. I was like, oh my god, well-rounded he is. It's just well-rounded.
Yeah.
As a character, as a Bond.
Yeah, I actually, since that's something I wasn't crazy about when it first came out, I'm actually really loving it now, is the fact that there's a through line, they're giving him a character arc, and they made him real. I mean, I don't know, because I love the Sean Connery Bond, and that's not a real person, I mean, that's a guy who sees the reflection of his killer through a girl's eyes and kills them both, and you go, oh my god, that's amazing, But like when I actually sat down and gave this a chance, it made me excited to watch what's coming, because I don't remember Quantum of Solace at all. I don't remember Spectre at all. Okay. So I'm excited to see the Daniel Craig arc, because I think you're right. He's a well-rounded Bond. He's charming. Yeah. He's good looking. He's fallible, which I really like. And he's got the physicality of it. Like I could see him being a real secret agent more than any of the people who played Bond previously.
Yeah.
And that's why I think he won me over time, over the span of the films, where I was like, something, there's a lot of, he checks all the boxes eventually of like what you want of James Bond, right? From a character standpoint. But then they blow past that by making him a real person, and like you said, a real spy, and someone who can actually, you can see them actually doing this job. And that's where I kind of compare them. I keep going to the comparisons. I think there's a lot of similarities between the way Christopher Nolan handled, his Batman versus previous, and that's where they go ahead. And I still got to believe that's got to be some sort of an inspiration, because they did come out around the same time. Where you're like, let's ground these guys. Let's ground these heroes, these superheroes. If it's Bond, you could even call a superhero per se.
Yeah, for sure.
And let's ground them and make them real people, and then let's see where that goes. And it is much more interesting.
So where do you guys think they're going next? Like, because we know the Craig run is over. Do you think they're going to try to do like a gritty, realistic Bond again? Do you think they're going to try to do more comedic? Like, guys, I have no idea where the franchise is going.
I all I know from No Time to Die is that my baby girl Latasha Lynch is an agent, and we can give her movies if we want. Because I think people were thinking, she was going to be like a black female Bond taking over, but then that was like nixed. But she is her own like character. And I just love that actress anyway. So but I don't mind spinoffs. Why not? Why no? I mean, I don't know how do you promote that? How do you like publicize those movies? It's not like Marvel. Like it's not it's not a big universe or anything like that.
It's not like people were buying like Felix Leiter novels.
No.
Yeah. Well, but I do, even though we're like now talking about it, I can kind of see that working. I mean, plus every studio wants a franchise that produces spin-offs now at this point. So for them, if they can get her character's name is escaping me from No Time to Die. She's an agent. Well, I mean, whatever. It's in the trailer. This isn't a spoiler for it, but she as she is 007 to start the film, his number was reassigned because he retired again. Because he always retired. This was his first movie, and he was ready to quit by the end of the movie already. So
he's a quitter.
He's ready to go. I mean,
this is the Danny Glover of James Bonds.
Yes,
I am just 5 days for retirement.
Yeah, he's ready to go. But no, like all jokes aside, like he does retire, so I can see her doing it and biting the tongue again, like for what happens in No Time to Die, though. I can still see her character, regardless of what happens at the end of that. I can see that, like her, spinning off, to her own thing, or at some point if they wanted to go with Felix Leiter. But yeah, how do you sell them? Would be a tough one because you can't. Would you put like the 007 logo on it or something to let you know that's because that's technically what the franchise is. It's 007.
Yeah. You could just call it that, and then
you
go
could
get
call it
people's attention.
You could.
And
you don't have to call it James Bond, just 007.
007. And that's its own title, right? Like a Spider-Man or
007 presents.
Yeah.
That's cute. Yeah. Do that.
Yeah, I mean, other franchises have struggled with that, like Star Wars tried, a Star Wars, Solo, Star Wars story, Rogue One, blah, blah, blah. And then was it Fast and the Furious has Fast and the Furious presents
Hobbs and Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw, I'm not a fan of the franchise, but so you see they all want to milk it for everything it's worth.
What studio is this?
This now?
MGM? It used to be MGM.
It's MGM, maybe? But I'm pretty sure Amazon bought everything from MGM. So technically
it's either Amazon, Sony, or Disney, right? Because those are the only 3 studios left.
well, Sony had it at one point, but I remember No Time to Die, though. It did say MGM. But Amazon, if I'm correct, Amazon bought them out of their rights, kind of like how Disney bought Fox, but they bought their movie division. But, Fox still has sports and news networks and things like that. So they're separate entities now.
That's right.
But I think they bought the MGM film division so Amazon can go forward. But remember, too, that this film No Time to Die was made prior to that sale. So maybe this was the last of what we're going to see. But they also have other franchises. I mean, they have a Rocky franchise, which is, Creed is a spin-off of that. So that's still going. I don't know. I don't know if these movies will suddenly appear on Amazon going forward. I don't know. I mean,
would you want to wait like another? Because how long had it been? Well, that wasn't that long before the reboot of between
I think
maybe it wasn't that long. I think it's almost like 10 years, but it's like 4 years. It was like 4 years between like Die Another Day and then
because Die Another Day is like 2002, right?
Yeah.
This was 2006.
This was 2006. Yeah, it was about that. I don't know. I don't know how long you give it. You got to see, what it is. I'm sure the wheels are turning and stuff like that. And I thought Barbara Broccoli had said something along the lines of like they're not even going to announce a casting for like a year or two.
Okay. Take your time.
So, I mean, we talked about this too. Like, who do we want to see as the next Bond? Like, do they go back to Henry Cavill now that he's a name? And
no, he's going to be another Timothy Dalton, and we don't. It's going to be Timothy Dalton.
And well, listen, Daniel Craig was nobody before I he came into here, and it made him.
I give me a female, give me a person of color. I think that would be.
Well, she did say though that James Bond is a dude. She did say that. Though. That was her
of course.
Yeah, she was like, if we want to upgrade other characters, which is what I think Letitia,
Yes,
like. That whole thing was that was coming in. So you'll create a new character to pretend, which I would like to see. But was it Robert Madden who's in Game of
Richard
Thrones?
Madden, yeah.
Richard Madden. That's my pick for who I want to see. And seeing him in Eternals now and Game of Thrones, I liked him. And I think he has a series where he had like an English TV show, I think, that he kind of plays.
He was like a bodyguard, yeah.
Yeah, the bodyguard. So I don't know. I can see him that. I can see Henry Cavill. I know the Idris Elba thing was going for a while, but he said I'm too old for this shit, basically. So I don't know. I mean, those are kind of like the names that you hear, or it could be somebody plucked completely out of left field. who I would give a chance to say, all right, I don't know who the hell this guy is, but I was wrong about Daniel Craig, so why not surprise me?
So how would we feel about Sam Elliott as the next James Bond?
Might be a tough sell.
I'm in.
He's not too old. He's not too old.
He'll sleep when he's dead.
No, not at all. Not at all. I know The Rock threw his name in as James Bond.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever. I mean,
he's just drinking tequila instead of martinis.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
He's drinking protein shakes or something.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know. I mean, that's why my short list would be Richard Madden. That's who I think my pick is. Henry Cavill, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think they also said that Henry Cavill got shut down because he was like too big. They just felt like he was too jacked, for the role. Because I mean, he would probably like, Daniel Craig's like the size of his leg or something. I mean, Daniel Craig's like a big dude, but Henry Cavill's just huge.
He's not like a big dude. He's like 5'9".
No, not like tall, but I'm talking about
he's like a bulldog.
Yeah, his mass is like crazy. They'll get James Bond working out. Seems like I saw many Penny in the gym. So.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So let's get to the very end, and then we'll wrap up. We'll get closing thoughts. So very end of this is he gets back to M, sort of calls him, and he gives this what I think is the iconic line of the book. It's actually the last line of the book when he's like, "The bitch is dead."
He has on the book. Oh wow.
Yeah, that's the last line of the book.
Wow.
And that's, but you know what, you can tell in the book, and I think you can tell in this that that's him trying to convince himself he doesn't care.
Absolutely.
And I actually really appreciated that they kept that in, because you shouldn't be calling women bitches ever, but I do like that they kept that in, because that's a really good character beat for him. And then the next thing we see is him murdering the guy who was in charge, the puppet master, with this, again, baller move, calls the guy's cell phone, he picks up, he says something, and then shoots him in the leg. And then the last thing you see is, "I'm Bond, James Bond." Go to credits.
That's a great shot, too. It's a gorgeous shot. It's a gorgeous everything. And such a good photo.
I think that's a great setup for the next movies. Like, just like, this is this guy. He's been burned. He's hardened. He is, he's everything we expect from James Bond or from a killer, because he's a killer, right? Yeah. In the book, he says it a lot. He's actually in the book very dismissive of his role as a 00. He actually says to Vesper in the book, there's only one reason they give you a 00, and that's because you've killed 2 people in the line of duty. And he kind of shrugs it off. So I think that's this James Bond. He's jaded and he's angry, and that kind of fuels him for the next movies.
That's great. And this is Casino Royale the first book?
Casino Royale is the first book. And can you guess? So book trivia time, if you guys don't mind. In the Bond movies, we get the impression he's having multiple missions between the movies, right? Yeah. The books are written a year apart, from like 1953 all the way until whenever the hell Ian Fleming dies and someone else takes over. And they reference each other. So literally his first mission is Casino Royale, and the next book is his second mission. You guys want to guess what his second mission is, movie-wise?
Is it From Russia with Love? No, I want to say
but that's a good guess.
Is it Dr. No?
It's not.
I was going to say that was my other guess.
It's Live and Let Die.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It jumps from Casino Royale to Live and Let Die, and then Moonraker.
Why did it take so long? Then Moonraker. Why did it take so long for them to make them into movies?
I guess, I don't know, and I'm going to try to find out like how they chose the books to adapt, but they just didn't go in order, which is why, and we'll get to it in some Sean Connery ones, like the Blofeld is inconsistent because they did the books out of order. But I just find it interesting that like we jump from Casino Royale to Live and Let Die, because in the movies, that's your first Roger Moore excursion. That's you know. Another fun fact: do you know how many cigarettes James Bond smokes in the book? Like
Did
in
they
a day.
tell you?
Yes, they do. In one day, can you guess how many cigarettes James Bond smokes?
He's British, and it's the 60s or 50s. How many packs are how many cigarettes are in a pack?
32.
32.
I think so, if I remember correctly.
What's
When I used to smoke,
6 times like 6? You said 30. 30 times 6. No, maybe 100. It's like 100 individual cigarettes.
higher.
Less. Higher.
Fire.
What's 30? Okay, like 6 packs a day. So what?
I was going way lower than that.
He smokes in the book. It is said in Casino Royale 600 cigarettes a day.
Okay.
You're smoking every second. There's never a moment when you're not smoking.
And but you know how many cigarettes Ian Fleming was supposed to have smoked in a day?
Okay.
900.
That's like Vivian Leigh in like Gone with the Wind and Clark Gable, like constantly smoking on set. That's why everyone looked so skinny back then.
No one ate. They smoked and got cancer and let the cancer keep them slim so they keep their jobs.
Bond never, if he goes up on that rate, he never goes through 20-something missions. He dies of lung cancer.
No, your heart rate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that, like, we don't see Craig smoke at all. Maybe that's why he's the only active Bond. He's the only Bond who doesn't smoke.
They fixed a lot of problems. I'm telling you, with Daniel Craig's fun. They definitely made it more realistic.
Oh, at least you can enjoy a martini. That's good.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes.
And I almost forgot about this. This is actually a part I wanted to share. So in the book, he does drink the Vesper Lind, right? That is a drink that he creates. And before I watched this movie again, I was thinking, all right, I know they're not going to have the whole plot line where he names it the Vesper because from the book, but they do. Like, that's the plot line in the book that they bring to the movie where he's like, yeah, I'm looking for a name for my drink. I'm going to call it the Vesper. Like,
that's so cute.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
Does he say the line about that it's like once you taste it, you can't get enough of it?
Something like that. Yeah, I don't remember if it's that exact one, but it's like a pickup line. I mean, pretty much. All right, so closing thoughts. What do you guys, Ed? Because I keep going to Ginny. Ed, what are some things that we did not touch on that you kind of wanted to hit in this movie, or if we hit everything, what are your closing thoughts on this?
Well, there's one random goofy thought that there's a scene where Bond goes in and is consoling Vespa in the shower, who's got like her clothes on, and walks him through the side of it and everything. I just want to say is that really that drives me nuts in hotels when you have those types of showers that aren't fully clogged. Because the whole concept of the water spraying everywhere, I just feel like it's very inefficient. What the hell is that about? Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying. I saw that where the hell did this last time? It may have been in London or Italy or some shit like that. Like, it drives me nuts. I'm just like, you feel weird taking a shower and it's just like I'm spraying water all over everywhere. What the hell's going on?
Try not to
close me. Yeah, just give me a damn door to close. So when I saw that again, I'm just like, oh, that damn shower. Here we go again. Bond should have just like told him to give me another room.
Puts up a sheet.
Puts up a sheet. It's weird. It's just so weird. I'm like, did you not finish the damn shower? Like, did you build it most of the way? And you're like, we don't need a door. Screw this. No, I mean, listen, it's one of my favorite Bond movies. Said that I haven't really through this. I guess I will hammer out exactly a number order, but it's one of my favorites. And through the Daniel Craig era. This is Skyfall is tough. I mean, it could really. I can't wait to watch Skyfall again and then see which one it goes to. Because for me, No Time to Die is a solid, like 3. No knock against it. I just really love the other 2 more, but I really like No Time to Die as well. So it's either 1 or 2, but I can't quite place where it is. So, excited to rewatch them and then really crack down and make an actual top 5 of this thing. But yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. I'm glad I got to rewatch it again. I don't know how many. It's definitely over 10 times. So I got another excuse. Awesome.
Ginny, how about you? Closing thoughts? Anything we missed?
It's such a clean movie. It's such a the dialogue is so. I think the dialogue really gets me again. It's like not over the top with its jokes or its banter. It's just like it's smooth and it's funny and. I think the weakest part might be Mads Mikkelsen, but again, now that we talked about it, he's kind of one. He's so.
I think you're warming up to him.
I am. I think he's complex, so it's great. So I am. You know, the more we talk about it, it's so great, and it's so funny to watch the later movies and just kind of see this is how they all can be their own individual story and a little bit different and a little bit you know, focused on certain things. And this is just kind of nice and pure and like ground and enough as grounded as you can be for a James Bond movie. Yeah, it's up there for me. It's top 5, maybe top 3 probably.
Nice.
Yeah, I would have to say same here. I think it's top 3 for me. I didn't give it a chance the first time I saw it. Really, sitting down watching it last night. And I have a thing when I watch stuff for this show or Granny's Peach Tea movies. I don't have my phone because I get very distracted. I'm worse than like a teenager when it comes to distraction. But I sitting there and watching it and taking notes. Yeah, this is definitely in my top 3, my top 3 Bond movies so far, which is big because my first is Goldfinger and nothing's going to change that. And my second is GoldenEye because I saw that in the theater. That was my first Bond in the theater. So nothing's really going to top that. So this has climbed as high as it can on my list right now that you can climb, and it might change as we go through this, but that you can climb without being those first 2 movies that I had mentioned. But yeah, I really enjoyed this.
By the way, one thing I forgot to mention was the director, Martin Cavill.
Oh yeah.
Also the director of Green Lantern, to spin off to the other show that we do together.
Did he really do Green Lantern?
Yes, he did Green Lantern.
Bad.
And I'm watching these 2 films. You're like, how did this happen?
One had a good script, another didn't.
I guess. I mean, I'm just like, Jesus, that's pretty
CGI,
rough.
0 CGI.
No CGI suit for Bond. The CGI tux.
Thank God.
Oh
God. Oh, let's not get into that. We look. That's on my list of things that I
for another time.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. Really appreciate it. Please take a moment if you guys are listening to this either live or on the Facebook stream or on Twitter, or if you're listening to the audio, which I know we're available on Spotify, or if you're on the Pop Culture Pros website, please take some time and join the 00Deep-Dive group on Facebook so you can be up to date with all the episodes that we have. And I've been trying to get some memes on there, trying to get the things that kids are into. By the way, no James Bond Hanukkah memes. I really did look for James Bond Hanukkah memes.
I had an easier time finding comic book related ones yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you were able to find some. I found nothing.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, I was ready.
I'm realizing finding stuff for James Bond is not as easy as finding stuff for comic books.
little tougher.
But if you like comic books, also check out the other show that Ed and I are on, Granny's Peach Tea. Get your latest serving of sweet, geeky goodness, which is going on this Saturday. Time TBD, TBA. TBD. Same thing, TBD. But if you're not part of the Granny's Peach Tea Facebook group, please go and join it if you're interested in catching up on all of the wonders that is the MCU, the CW verse, and all the other fun geeky goodness. Ginny, if we ever do Swamp Thing, you got to come on. I know that's your favorite.
There. I'll watch all of it again. I'll watch it 3 times in a row.
That's who you were referring to that liked Swamp Thing.
Yes.
I love Swamp Thing. You don't understand. I paid for the network for Swamp Thing.
Oh wow! All right.
Yeah.
I was serious.
When we do, eventually we're going to have to do a Swamp Thing episode. Ginny, you got to come on.
Yes, please. Oh.
If you're so inclined, please join the Pop Culture Pros Facebook group for some other great quality shows. We have the Just Too Sweet Show, which is a wrestling podcast, a Put It in the Books, which is a Mets podcast, correct? Baseball?
Yep.
A counterbalance to that would be the Empire 161 with, I don't know, who the hell hosts that, Ed?
some asshole and Lisa. I mean, some guy.
Some guy who's
some guy. I don't know who he is. You know, there's a bunch of Yankees, some sports shit behind him, and during his shows and whatever. Right. I mean, yeah, that guy. But yeah, we're in our off season right now, but we'll be back soon enough. And yeah, just Star Wars shooting the Sith.
Star Wars shooting the Sith.
Jason and I will be popping on and joining Tim on that as well.
Absolutely, we're going to be doing the holiday special, and I got a recurring guest spot, dropping some Admiral Akbar facts. We also got the A to Z, Eric with Eric, who it literally covers everything from A to Z. There was an episode he did just recently about like infomercials from 90s and early 2000s, which I mean, how could you not love that? How could you not love old infomercials? I mean, that is pretty awesome.
So you're going to be talking about shake weight and everything like that?
Let's just say that Ron Popeil, baby. Ron Popeil is the infomercial god. Please join up on the Pop Culture Pros to get that. And I'm sure I'm missing many, many more quality programs because I am not professional enough to take notes.
They got two football shows. One for the New York Giants called the We Stomped You Out show. They will be, I'm pretty sure they're going on Wednesday night because we're off this week for Wednesday since we're moving to Saturday. And you got Unsportsmanlike Conduct, which Tim and Faraci cover some football on there as well. So you got that. And then there are a couple other shows that are on hiatus right now. Jada and Kyle and Stream Wars Pros and Four Quarters show. So talk about them more when they come back.
Absolutely.
We're looking at you.
And look, if you don't want to rely on me and my terrible memory, just in case Ed's not around one day to remind me, then join the Facebook Pop Culture Pros. Go to the website, check it out, like us on Facebook, like us on YouTube, right? Subscribe on YouTube because you can get us on YouTube. Like, don't rely on me. I'm unreliable on everything that isn't James Bond or comic book related stuff. Go straight to the source, which is popculturepros.com. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Ed, Ginny, I think this was a smashing success. Thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that, Ed, you can't make it next week.
If you guys are on Monday, I'm going to be in Chicago next week. So you guys enjoy Quantum of Solace. I think I'm actually going to watch it on my own just to rewatch it, just to keep up with the through line, because I'm curious to see this now that I know what happens at the end of it.
Awesome. So I'll tell you what, when you come back for Skyfall, you take 5 minutes to give us your Quantum of Solace thoughts.
I can give you probably in about 30 seconds to a minute. Don't worry about it.
All right. Wonderful. Even better. And Ginny, I know Quantum of Solace is your favorite. And so next week we are having a special guest, your husband Tom.
Yes. He will be more than happy to come on. Yeah.
Who's coming on? I think he said to make fun of you for loving.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we'll point out everything that I forget about that makes it a flawed movie.
All right, guys. Well, then I bid you adieu. Please go and enjoy a martini for me.
There it is.